So that gets me thinking, Dabney. I think it may be a good day to go to the garden centers and get those spring flowers.
Well, I tell you, you almost think you want to plant tomato plants.
Yeah,
well, like we're talking about, golly days. But it is a good day to go out to the garden center. And, you know, we think about last-minute gifts, and we brought one along. This is an anthurium. Great indoor house plant. And as you mentioned, they do not like sun, so you want to make sure to keep them in shade. And also on any of your indoor plants, you want to make sure not to overwater. So this time of year, because the days are short, even though they're indoors, they're not going to get the sun that they would get, you know, if they were outside, nor are they going to get the air circulation even in the shade. So we water maybe once a week, but watch the quantity of water you put on. We don't want to get them sopping wet and then let them dry out. We want to just maintain slight moisture, and a good way of doing that a lot of times, even ice cubes. I recommend even on orchids, which is another good plant. Put 3 or 4 ice cubes on it, maybe once every 7 to 10 days. That way it waters it lightly without drenching the plant.
See, I always thought that ice cubes would maybe shock the plant because the water would be so cold.
No,
no,
not at all. In fact, that's a trick we use when we go to conventions for the plants indoors. We don't want to mess up the floor, so we'll put ice cubes on them. That way the plant in the soil can absorb the water rather than running out the bottom of the pot.
Interesting.
Poinsettias this time of year, another plant that you know we're giving to folks, and of course we have them indoors. We want to keep them away from drafts, keep them away from that direct sun. And again, with those, we want to water lightly. Don't see how much water you can put on a plant.
Okay, well, good tips there. We have a caller here this morning, Paula in Gloucester. Good morning. What's your question? I don't know if I'm not hearing anything.
I didn't either. I thought, well, maybe my earpiece popped out of my ear.
Yeah, no, we're not hearing anything. But one thing, too, Dabney, I have a question about the poinsettias, actually, though, because I've had one before, and all the leaves dropped, or half the leaves started to drop, and then I got it into a regimen of warm water. Do you want to put that in like any type of indirect sun or direct sun to kind of help bring it back?
Well, once they drop those leaves, that's pretty much it. Of course, what we can do, you know, poinsettias we can keep from year to year, so you're not going to regenerate more leaves this time of year, but once we get through the season, or even if yours prematurely drops like that, we can cut that plant back a third or a half and then start feeding it and watering it on a regular, as it needs it, and it'll re-sprout out with new leaves again. And then to get it to bloom next year, we'll start in August giving it a 18-hour darkness, 6-hour sunlight, and that's what makes them bloom.
So if you have one that's already dropped some leaves, it's kind of too late for this Christmas. You have to kind of work at it for next year.
Exactly. Of course, maybe might be if you still got nice top, what my wife will do a lot of times, kind of camouflage the bottom. She'll put some live greens in around the bottom, so you don't see where the leaves have dropped off, and it still makes a nice looking plant.
That's great. Okay, I think we have that caller back. Good morning. What's your question?
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is concerning a plant that you have. This is.
I think we lost him
lost
again.
her, yeah.
I'm sorry about
I'm
that.
not sure,
Yeah, I'm not so sure what her question was. I don't know if she was referring to the anthurium like we had to plant here or not. Another, you know, the other indoor plants this time of year, of course, tropical holiday plants. You know, you have the amaryllis, you have the paperwhites, you have the Christmas cactus. All those make good plants. And of course, remember too, when we talk about going out to garden center, gifts for gardeners. Bird feeders are great this time of year. Loppers, pruners. There are a lot of things that can be found that make neat gifts to give someone, your neighbor or a friend or something.
Yeah, and if you're clever enough too, and Dabney already has the tie on right now. We were looking at it earlier. It has vegetables on it. It's a perfect tie for a gardener. Someone with the green thumb. That's awesome.
I bought this from Organic Gardening years ago and can't find another one. I want to get one with flowers, but all I've been able to find is vegetables. But you're right, gardening ties are great. And there are certain ones that have flowers and everything. That's a neat gift too.
Okay, we have another caller from Chesapeake. Good morning. What's your question?
I have a Gerber daisy from the summer of last year, and I cut it back, and it bloomed, and it's still in bloom now. So I'm wondering, should I cut it back now so it will bloom again for next summer?
No, just enjoy the blooms you have now. What's going to probably happen now that the weather is getting what it is, you're going to start getting some kind of whitish on the leaves, and that's mildew, and that's typical for Gerbers to get those this time of year. But just leave it alone. Then, some say maybe about the 1st of March, then cut it back, and yes, they bloom in the spring and in the fall because they kind of like the cool weather. During the summer, you'll get a bloom here or there, but they tend to bloom more when the weather's cooler.
Okay.
Because of the strange weather, talking about gerbers, I have primrose that I planted last spring, and because of the mild weather we're having, they're actually starting to bloom again now. They're another one of those cool, hardy, half-hardy annuals that like the cool weather, and that's where we put the gerberas and the primrose in that category. And many times, if you have them in just the right location, they will come back year after year, where if you get them in a little too much sun or it gets a little too wet, they do not.
Okay, all right. Also, great tips this morning, Dabney. We have a bunch of other tips on our website, too. If you want to try and keep those needles on the Christmas tree, we have tips from last week on our website, wavy.com, so check that out. We'll have another check of weather and some more news coming up after the break.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, yeah.